Hello, I am Skeptic Pidgey, and for the first time talking about some recent issues. Due to the latest events in the feminist SJW community, the Laci Green Redpilling and the Evergreen State College yelling matches that have recently been coming to light, I've decided that I can help to be a force of good in the so-called anti-feminist SJW community. I feel like that there is a lot to talk about, things that people like Armored Skeptic and even Philip DeFranco, who is a common sense man, can get to. Having more voices is always helpful, and if I can be an instrument of sensical, non-biased information and dialogue in this community, I'd be more than happy to do so. So, let's look at the facts just from the two instances I stated previously about Laci Green and the Evergreen State College incidents. According to Philip DeFranco, Bret Weinstein, a professor of biology, called out against a recent idea put forward by the students, which would basically be, well, a day without white people, likely having parallels with the Day Without Women walkout that happened recently. Now, for a dissenting opinion to that of his students, Weinstein is basically a pariah to these people. Why? The man is a Bernie bro, but seemingly for having common sense, he is alienated by his students and cornered in the hallways of his school. And the issue is that when I first heard about this, I didn't lean forward, I didn't even really question it. It seemed so normal to see this sort of headline, and that, to me, is terrible in and of itself. According to the memo, Bret gave quite a sensible argument against it, saying, quote, "There is a huge difference between a group or coalition deciding to voluntarily absent themselves from a shared space in order to highlight their vital and underappreciated roles, and a group or coalition encouraging another group to go away." He continued, "There is first a call to consciousness, which, of course, is crippling to the logic of oppression. The second is a show of force and an act of oppression in and of itself." Weinstein added that he would not participate and added, "On a college campus, one's right to speak or to be must never be based on skin color." Now, the difference, I'm sure you're wondering, is what is the difference between a woman's walkout day on a work day in the middle of the week and a no whites day at a liberal arts college in Washington? Well, quite a bit. First off, the women's walkout day was set up by women to show the world what it would be like without them. The no whites day, however, is a bit of a different story. The people are calling for this as a way not to show that maybe the world would be worse off without a specific group of people, like the women's walkout day did, but simply to sow the seeds of racial inequality. They aren't just making a no whites day to show the people what the world would be like without them. They're basically saying, no, you can't come here today. Basically, think pre-60s America. Sorry, white people, back of the bus. Now, I am not in any way, shape, or form saying that the group known as whites should always be the victim. But clearly, in this instance, one need only look at the evidence, something Philip DeFranco did very well at, and I'll put his link in the video in the description if you haven't seen it already. The last thing to point out about the Evergreen College Bret Weinstein story is honestly how little coverage it got. I found this story through Philip DeFranco himself, and after looking it up and trying to find more information, I found almost nothing. Take a moment and imagine that the roles were reversed. If it had been a bunch of white kids calling for a day without African Americans, every single news source would be on it like rotting meat to flies, yet, being as it is, not even the conservative Fox News will take a crack at it. Next, we have the Laci Green story, something that interested me quite a bit and honestly gave me a lot of hope for future of feminism. When I was back in school and living at home, my mother would often tell me that she was a feminist, something I often wondered about. When I learned about the ultra-leftist hardline feminist community, I was stunned, but it was explained to me very early on the different types of feminism that exist and how each of these can take shape. My mother was a classic 60s feminist fighting for votes and simple equality, to which she says she's fairly satisfied. When I told her even recently about the things people like Gloria Steinem and others have been saying, she was appalled. Women dressing as vaginas in the streets and not even listening to a dissenting opinion? What the hell happened? I thought we won, were her words. Simply hearing my mother say that reinforced my feelings about what I call current feminism. In its true form, feminism is not a man-hating ideologist groupthink. It calls for equality of all, men and women, no matter their race. That's something I, and I'm guessing you can get behind too. And honestly, this is something apparently another human being like Laci Green can get behind as well, coming out with a few videos about her quote-unquote red pilling. Laci has been a pretty big feminist for years, sometimes even delving into the dangerous bog of current feminism. Yet, even throughout, she is still a human being. She, like any other man-hater out there, can always come back to a moderate viewpoint, giving enough prodding and allowing for some sort of dialogue to shine through. And I'm sure any viewer here can easily respect that. Seeing Laci Green meet with people like Chris Reagan was very refreshing, and I honestly hope to see more of that and less of Kevin Logan berating her. Honestly, people like Kevin Logan are the reason there are feminists in the first place, screaming things like, "No you can't." To sum up, my channel will basically take a common sense approach to a lot of things both here on YouTube and on the web. Yeah, I'm a bit late to the Laci Green story, but it was very interesting and I felt like it needed to be talked about. I really just want to hop on bandwagons and talk about stories that I personally find interesting, without telling you which way to support, something I'm thankfully seeing a bit more of lately. Hopefully you halfway enjoyed the shitty content and can drop a like or a sub. Maybe a comment telling me which type of bleach to drink. All are welcome, dissenting or not.